Afterglow Movie Net, Saturday, 10:30 p.m., W5FC.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is N5BB.
This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Yes, your worst fears are realized. We are back again this week for Skynet. This is N5BB, November 5 Bravo Bravo. My name is Bill, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. I'm trying to finish my dinner while I'm running the net. So if there's odd pauses and weird sounds, it's because I'm trying to eat when I'm not talking. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateur radio operators interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign, break, and your call sign. All stations will then wait for the emergency traffic to complete. Is there emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from your net control, which is me in 5BB. And stations are reminded to identify at the end of your transmissions. That's how I know you're finished, and we want to keep the FCC happy. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins are also possible via Echolink using the W5FC-R station identification or Echolink node 37247. I bet you didn't remember that number. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org. That's right, whiskey5friedchicken.org. Right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur radio operators are welcome. You do not need to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long, and after this net we'll have the Afterglow net, talking about a movie. The net's structured into several parts. I'll whiz through these. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, National Space Society, discussion topic of the evening, was space exploration and space history, Constellation of the week, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, and if we have time, astronomical question and answers before the 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So first, by the way, I'm looking at Echolink, so people can say something to me over there and I may read it. Let's start with RF, short-time check-ins. Do we have any short-time check-ins? If so, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. This is N5BB, Skynet. Wow, nothing. Let's try one more time. Do we have any short-time check-ins to Skynet? If so, please come now.
W5BLT, P5, bacon, lettuce, tomato, Bill.
Oh boy, you're really weak. W5, is that Bravo Lima Tango? Is that correct?
That's correct. Sorry, on the road. W5BLT, correct.
And your name is Bill, right? And you're mobile.
Correct.
Very good, Bill. Do we have any other short-time check-ins? Bill, before you get out of range, if you're going away, do Do you have any comments or questions for the net? Over.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh boy. Bill, somebody doubled here. Do you have any comments or questions before you have to leave, Bill? This is N5BB.
No comments or anything. Back to that control.
Very good, Bill. Was there another station trying to check in short time? This is N5BB.
KG5ZIX.
Okay. Why don't you remind us of your name and location?
KG5ZIX, Joe and Wiley.
Thank you, Joe. Do we have any other short-time check-ins? If so, please come now. Okay, now let's look for general RF check-ins. If you want to check in on RF, now's the time to do it. We'll do Echolink later. So do we have any general RF check-ins to Skynet? Please come now. This is N5BB Net Control. We need your name, your call sign, and your location.
Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey. Change your weather.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray in Quinlan.
This is Kilo Echo 5, Echo November, Eric in Plano.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in DeSoto.
This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far northeast Dallas.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
This is Alpha Alpha 5 Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
Okay, let's pause there. I'd like to recognize KF5ZBL, Bill, KG5BZW, Jay, K5KTX, Kelly, KE5EN, Eric, KE5ICX, Tom, NT5TM, Tony, WB5OZL, Brenda, W5GUS, Gus, KG5WVL, James, KG5APL, Patrick, and AA5AH, Robert. Do we have any other RF check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB. Okay, it appears that's all for now. Now let's look on Echolink. There's a lot of stations over there, but I'm not sure how many of them want to participate, and some of them have already checked in. So I've got a post up here from JJ that KF5PLL wants to check in, and that's Huey. And let me see. Not sure where Huey is, but I'll check you in, Huey. And let's see. JJ, N5IMS, do you want to participate? JJ is in listen-only mode, so we'll check in N5IMS. And let's see, Huey is on planet Earth. Yes, I assume he is. I didn't think he was in orbit around the moon. So I'd like to check in KA2UPW, and that is Douglas. Hello, Douglas. And who else? KI5KTZ, Philip. And what got you, Philip? Did I miss anybody? Do we have any other people that would like to check into Echolink? KI5JHA. Chaz is checking on Echolink just because he was already over there. Okay, Chaz, that's allowed. You will not get any demerits because of that. Don't worry. So let's see if there's anybody else I missed over here. Rich, AG5PM, do you want to check in? Not sure if Rich is still there, so I don't think I'll check him in right now. I think that's everybody. I've already got Kelly. And Chaz, you get 2 gold stars just for being yourself. So yes, go ahead and check in on radio, Chaz. KF5JHA, go right ahead.
For those of you without Echolink, I asked if I could get 2 gold stars for checking in on Echolink as well as radio. This is KF5JHA. I could say I'm on, on the Milky Way in the solar system of Sol, on the planet Earth, on the continent of North America, in the United States, and Texas, in Mesquite. KF5JHA.
Thank you. I have your Skynetolite located, Chaz. Thank you. Do we have any other check-ins to Echolink over any mode? This is N5BB. You want to make your presence known. Oh, Santa isn't here. I was trying to keep JJ happy. You know, Santa makes his presence known. Anyway. Uh-oh. And none of Santa's little helpers, who are subordinate clauses, have appeared yet. That's bad, Douglas. That's bad. Okay. One more try. Do we have any other check-ins to Skynet? Please come down. This is N5BB, net control.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Echo India Uniform, David, St. Paul, Texas.
Kilo Golf 5 Uniform Kilo Uniform, David, Mesquite.
The Davids are piling up. KG5EIU and KG5EUKU. We got you, David and David. One more try. Do we have any other check-ins to Echolink, over any mode for Skynet? This is N5BB. Any last check-ins?
Whiskey Alpha 5, Bravo Echo November.
Okay, was that Kilo Alpha 5 Bravo? I missed the rest of it. Please try your call sign again and your name and location.
Whiskey Alpha 5, Bravo Echo November, Larry in Murphy, Texas.
KA5BEN, we got you, Larry. Okay, any other check-ins? Nothing heard. Okay, now let's start with general announcements. Does anybody have any general announcements for the net? These can be ham radio, astronomical, space, general interested licensed hams, could be local news, could be worldwide ham radio news. Anything you think we might like to hear, please come now with your call sign only. This is N5BB, Skynet.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
NT5TM. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, just FYI, if we get everything set, we may be signing Tango India 7 here in about a couple of weeks.
Okay, I got confused. Was that station NT5TM?
It was, but I think there was someone else there who was out of sync, perhaps, with the rest of us.
Okay. Who is the station that talked about going to Costa Rica or wherever? This is N5BB.
WA5BEN. We're headed down there around the 16th, and if we get the licensing stuff going, we may be signing Tango India 7.
Very good, Larry. I must have got your call. Your call is WA5BEN, is that correct?
Affirmative.
I wrote it down wrong. Sorry. Very good. You going to be down there very long?
A couple of weeks.
Well, great. You'll have to send more announcements out. Let us know what's going on there. Maybe we can all have a chat with you. Very good. Well, have fun down there. And don't do anything that we wouldn't do. Okay, are there any other general announcements? Oh, let's see. Besides Tony, hold on, Tony, do we have any other people with general announcements for the net? This is N5BB. Station calling was way too noisy. See if you can move, if you're mobile or portable, handheld, or increase your power and try one more time. Looking for stations with general announcements for Skynet. This is N5BB, Net Control. Nothing heard? Okay, NT5TM. Go ahead, Tony, with your announcements. N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. Well, I'd like to remind everyone that this is not our last night of the evening. We do have the Afterglow movie discussion featuring the 1984 Dennis Quaid Strangeness Dreamscape, which was actually a big success. And so far has just been puzzling me, which I guess that's what it was for. We'll be discussing that movie. Of course, we don't watch movies on the radio, but we do talk about them right here tonight at about 10:30, give or take a few minutes. This is our first weekend of the month, and that means our first Sunday is coming up tomorrow. We'll have a meeting on the air at 7 p.m. That's open to any amateur who'd like to share what's been going on in their ham world. And then a RACES training net at 8 p.m. Everyone is welcome to listen, but only RACES appointees can check in. Monday the 6th will bring us a Ham Fixins net. And Tuesday, December 7th, 2021, will be a trivia night, a virtual Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting with details available at w5fc.org. If you are a Dallas Amateur Radio Club member, please make sure to vote in the club election prior to the meeting this Tuesday. Your vote is due before the meeting on Tuesday. So, Afterglow movie discussion tonight at 10:30, meeting on the air tomorrow at 7, Ham Fixins Monday at 7, and the amazing trivia night with cool prizes coming up this Tuesday. More details at w5fc.org. This is NT5TM.
Very good, Tony. Does anybody have any questions or comments about Tony's item? Excuse me. Questions or comments about Tony's items? If so, please come down with your call sign. Nothing heard. One last try for any late check-ins or any announcements. This is N5BB, Skynet. Oh boy. It's a 5 Foxtrot something Yankee. You're very noisy. Can you try again? Okay, was that Kilo 5 Foxtrot Zulu Yankee? Is that correct? Well, I'm assuming that's okay. What was your name?
I am Fuzzy. Call sign is correct.
Ooh, it's Fuzzy. He has a call sign that goes with a name. Well, thank you, Fuzzy. Where are you located? Did you say Roy City? Okay, I can't get that. Just too weak. Oh well, thanks for listening to us, Fuzzy. You're just extremely weak. If you could double your power, we could probably understand you better. Okay, do we have any other late check-ins or announcements? This is N5BB, Skynet. Nothing heard. So, let's go on with the next section of the net. The Radio Amateur Satellite Group, AMSAT, has 2 local nets. One is on Tuesday night on this repeater at 8 p.m. Central Time. The other one is on Wednesday evening at 9 p.m. on the 147.14 megahertz repeater in Arlington. So those are the 2 AMSAT nets. The Dallas has lots of nets on this repeater. On Monday nights, we got things going on every Monday night at 7 p.m. Ham Fixins, talk about food, emergency communication, Ham Fixings again, the Geek Net, and if there's a 5th week, a surprise net, which is a surprise. On Tuesday, we have the AMSAT net I mentioned earlier at 8 p.m. On Fridays, we have the Search City Simulation net at 8 p.m. where all kinds of dastardly things happen, and the CERT people have to get through them. Then on Saturday night, we have the Night of Nets. We have TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m., Skynet from 9 p.m. to 10:30, and the Afterglow Net from 10:30 until whenever, usually about midnight. We also have on the first and third Sundays the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air on Sunday afternoon or evening at 7 p.m. That's the first and third Sundays of the month before the Races Net. And then every night we have on this repeater the National Traffic System Training Net starting at 6:30 p.m., normally finished around 7 p.m. Also at 10:30 p.m. every night, there's the National Traffic System Late Training Net in the DFW area. It's on the Irving 146.72 megahertz repeater, also with the 110.9 PL tone. Anybody's welcome to check in on any of these nets. So, the Afterglow. Tom, do you want to read the Afterglow information about what's going to go on at 10:30? This is in 5BB. Tom, paging Tom.
Thank you, Bill. This is KE5ICX, and here it is, the highly accurate synopsis of the movie. The president sat impatiently on the dream train. No, there isn't such a thing. There was in his dreams. And when Eddie Albert is president, expect weird things to happen. The conductor appeared, the same one from that Twilight Zone remake we saw last summer, and he wasn't happy about this latest invader of his mobile space. Tickets? I need your tickets. No one gets through this movie without a ticket. The president, of course, didn't have a ticket. He was the president. He didn't need one. The conductor decided otherwise and made his feelings known. No ticket, no movie. This may be a dream sequence with crappy 1980s special effects, but I cannot allow you to bask in these effects without paying for the ride. Before we knew it, President Albert was sitting on the side of the train tracks, red sky and atomic explosion off in the distance. Join us for the surprisingly popular SF movie, Dreamscape, from 1984 tonight at 10:30. And it's an optional. You don't have to have seen the movie if you just like atomic bombs and presidents. We'll be talking about them too. Back to you, Bill, KE5ICX.
Well, thank you, Tom. Okay. Do we have any late check-ins or any questions up to this point? This is in 5BB, Skynet.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power.
This is November 5, Juliet Charlie, Mark out in Wiley.
Okay, I recognize WB4MFI. Ted, you may be a little power, but you got a solid signal. And I recognize N5ZZC, Mark out in Wiley. Do we have any other late check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet. We got some real groaners on Echolink text. Why did Prince Albert spend his time in the bathroom? He had to stay in the can. You have to be old enough to know what we're talking about with Prince Albert. Anyway, so let's move on to the next part of the net. If I can get back to my notes. The Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. Chaz, tell us what's going on with TAS. This is N5BB, Skynet.
Hi, thank you, Bill. About half the jokes on Echolink are JJ's, and I think the other half are mine. There's only been, I think, one or two other ones. So, yeah, we're doing Christmas jokes. I have about 150 of them, and I've got to, well, I only have a limited amount of time, only till December 25th to tell them. Okay, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting won't be happening this month because it's a holiday. There'll be a holiday awards program. But on Friday, January the 28th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. will be the next meeting. It'll be held on Zoom. Dr. Noah Pearson from Montana State University, if I remember right, will be the featured speaker. TAS Club members will receive an an email link to the Zoom meeting in advance of the meeting. And Saturday night, public observing sessions for TAS have been placed on hold because of COVID. One of the reasons why Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights was so that there was an opportunity to give live reports from the TAS public observing sessions. But since there are no observing sessions, we don't get live reports. If you want to get more information, go to texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about the meetings and public observing sessions. This is KF5 JHA. Back to N5BB.
Oh, my chess. Too short, too short. Very good. So, do we have any questions or comments or late check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet. Okay. Now, unfortunately, you have to listen to me for a while. Or you don't have to listen, but you can listen to me. You are allowed to. So the National Space Society of North Texas, National Space Society of North Texas has a website at nssofnt.org. It also has a Facebook page. Type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box. And I happen to be the membership director of the National Space Society North Texas chapter. If you have any interest in National Space Society or any questions or comments about what I'm getting ready to describe, you can send me an email at space@byram.net. That's SPACE at BYROM.net. Or you can use my amateur call sign and send a message to N5BB, it's November 5 Bravo Bravo, at ARRL.net. Okay. So, again, any questions about National Space Society in general or the North Texas chapter, you can send them there. Our local chapter has regular meetings on the second Sunday afternoon of every month. So our meeting in December is going to be a special one where we have been invited to a location in South Lake, Texas, where there's going to be at a church on that afternoon, starting at noon, and there's going to be a buffet dinner, lunch, I should say, followed by a Wally Funk event. That's right, Wally Funk is going to be honored at her church that day, and you could be there. They also, in December, have a huge model railroad display, and Ms. Tori Lazarus from Lockheed Martin, who's involved with the Space Dealers TV series and more, is providing models of the Blue Origin New Shepard rocket and the associated capsule for display. And Ms. Lazarus will be there. So in addition to all this Wally Funk thing, where we expect her to pose for photos and autographs, the National Space Society North Texas chapter will have 3 display tables, and we will be there to talk to people with complimentary NASA lithographs and other stuff. And even more, we'll go into a separate room and have a meeting, a chapter meeting there, and we're going to have remotely via WebEx a presentation by Dr. Kelly Fast with NASA. She is the near-Earth, she is the space preparedness in the Space Preparedness Office. So she's the one that's planning for things like asteroids hitting the Earth. And she will be giving us our monthly meeting presentation. So, virtually. So this is really cool. So you got Wally Funk. You've got a Blue Origin rocket, New Shepard rocket model with associated capsule. You've got a huge model railroad display. And you've got the people in the Space Protection Office from NASA talking virtually. I tell you, there's a lot of stuff going on. If you would like to participate on this, you can send me an email. I'll repeat my email address again. This is space@byram.net or n5bb@arrl.net. And the event is called Trains, Rockets, and Wally. And again, that will be Sunday, December the 12th, a week from tomorrow, beginning at noon. But the National Space Society events won't start until 3:30 at 4. But still, it'll begin at noon, and it'll be at a Methodist church in Southlake. So again, if you send me an email, I can maybe let you get in. It's going to be much easier if you join the National Space Society. Okay, so that's what's going on with the National Space Society in December. In November, our featured speaker was, just a moment, I've already forgotten his name. I shouldn't forget his name. It was Dr. Andy Rivkin. He is one of the chief investigating scientists with the DART, Double Asteroid Redirection Test mission that launched here this last month. And he gave our presentation last month. So we had the presentation about the DART mission, and then this month we have the NASA presentation from the Space Safety Office, the kind of Earth preservation, space protection that they call it. So a lot of stuff going on about this with National Space Society locally. So think about it. You might want to join our group. Okay. Do we have any questions or comments about the National Space Society events? This is N5BB, Skynet. Are any late check-ins?
Kilo Victor 4 X-Ray Zulu, late check-in.
JJ's router has to be rebooted. So I guess he can't form those moldings until he gets his router rebooted. Anyway, I guess that's it then for National Space Society. Before I go to the next topic, do we have any other comments or check-ins? This is N5BB, Skynet.
Kilo Victor 4 X-Ray Zulu, late check-in. Name's Matt.
unfortunately, you have to hear me talk later. So the discussion topic for the night is galaxy collisions preview Milky Way's fate. So somebody, Tom or something, threw some other link in there. Let me see what that is. Hold on here. Oh, it's the image. Okay. So this is from the December 2021 issue of Scientific American magazine. The article is by two authors, Aaron Evans, who's an astronomer at the National Radio Astronomy Observatory and the North American Alma Science Center. He's at the University of Virginia. He's a professor of astronomy. And also by Lee Armas. Lee is a senior scientist at the Infrared Processing and Analysis Center and a member of the professional staff at the California Institute of Technology. This is a long article. I'm not going to read the whole thing. So here we go. This is about galaxies colliding. In approximately 5 billion years, as the sun expands into a red giant star, roughly the diameter of Earth's orbit around it, our galaxy will collide with its nearest large neighbor, Andromeda. As gravity draws the pair toward each other for a close encounter, stars will be ripped from their orbits to make spectacular tails, and gas and dust will be squeezed toward the approaching nuclei, destroying the stately grand spirals that have existed for almost 3/4 of the age of the universe. This is N5BB Skynet. Eventually, the centers of the galaxies will merge, and the gas pouring toward the center will ignite an explosion of star formation, producing stars more than 100 times faster than either galaxy does today. It will also feed the now quiet supermassive black holes that lurk at the centers of both galaxies. The black holes will grow while releasing a storm of energetic particles and radiation that will easily outshine the light from all the other stars in both galaxies combined. After another 100 million years or so, the two supermassive black holes will spiral toward each other and merge into a single black hole in a cataclysm that will send strong gravitational waves reverberating throughout space. Despite the fireworks, this process, which is happening around us today and was even more common in the early universe, is not really a collision in the strictest sense of the word. Galaxies are mostly empty space. The roughly 300 billion stars in a galaxy like the Milky Way are, on average, separated by nearly 5 light years. Of course, that means it takes 5 years for light, traveling 186,000 miles per second. It takes 5 years on the average for the light from one star to reach the next in our galaxy. The density of air at sea level on Earth is about 100 billion times greater than the average density of gas in interstellar space. In other words, although a merger is transformative in the life of a galaxy and a source of immense power, most stars just pass right by one another during the event. This is N5BB. Nevertheless, galaxy pileups are fascinating and important. By studying the mergers of other galaxies, we can see the future of our own. Studying galaxy mergers also helps us understand the history of the universe, because when the cosmos was younger and denser, galactic collisions were much more common. Simulations suggest that over the past 10 billion years, the Milky Way has undergone as many as 5 major mergers on its way to becoming the grand spiral it is today. It's an exciting time to be doing this work. Until recently, astronomers lacked the tools to carefully measure and model colliding galaxies. Most of the action is obscured behind thick clouds of dust that are difficult to penetrate at visual wavelengths, even with the largest telescopes. With new instruments on current and planned telescopes, hint, hint, James Webb Space Telescope, planned to go up later this month, hint, hint, we will begin to answer some big questions about galaxy mergers, such as how stars are born during the chaos of a galactic collision, and how radiation released by growing and eventually merging central black holes affects the new galaxy taking shape around them. This is N5BB with Skynet. Galactic pileups. It's been almost a century since Edwin Hubble first discovered that many of the glowing blobs in the sky, known at the time as nebulae, are not objects within the Milky Way, but are instead independent island universes. He classified these extragalactic nebulae into 3 categories. Those with spherical or elliptical shapes, that's the elliptical galaxies. Those flattened and sometimes barred disk with a central bulge, the spiral galaxies like our own, and misshapen oddities, the irregular galaxies. This is N5BB, Skynet. A small fraction of the irregular galaxies were in fact highly distorted pairs or small groups of galaxies. In the years after Hubble's discovery, such pioneers as Boris Vorontsov Velimilov, I butchered that name, of Moscow University, Fritz Zwicky of the California Institute of Technology, and Halton Arp of the Mount Wilson and Palomar observatories, studied this class of interconnected galaxies in detail. Long exposure images made from photographic plates published in ARP's 1966 Atlas of Peculiar Galaxies clearly show the distorted shapes that we now recognize as the signatures of merging galaxies. In the 1970s, the brothers, Jury and Alan Toomer, used computers to model interactions of simple disk galaxies on bound parabolic orbits, recreating the shapes of several peculiar galaxies, in particular the long, sweeping tails of stars launched to great distances during the merger. This is Skynet in 5BB Net Control. These and other early simulations showed that the unusual, sometimes spectacular features highlighted by ARP and others could be explained solely by gravitational interactions. Using modern computers and state-of-the-art simulations, various teams have further mapped the diversity of galaxy interactions and the importance of mergers in the life cycle of galaxies. In 1983, the Infrared Astronomical Satellite, or IRAS, was launched. This satellite produced the first far-infrared map of the entire sky. This was a huge boon to the study of the hidden universe and, in particular, galactic mergers. At the wavelengths it captured, the satellite was sensitive to thermal emissions from warm and cool dust. Interstellar dust in galaxies almost always signals a nursery for stellar birth. In normal galaxies, stars are born in clouds of mostly molecular hydrogen gas and dust. A break. As stars evolve and die, they shed heavy dust-forming elements such as carbon and oxygen, which were produced in their interiors through nuclear fusion, thus further enriching the surrounding clouds with dust. The dust already in the clouds was formed in prior episodes of star formation. In colliding galaxies, this process is in overdrive. The merger concentrates gas and dust into compact regions, igniting waves of star formation called starbursts that in turn produce heavy elements and more dust. Therefore, although young and massive stars release most of their energy at short ultraviolet wavelengths, very little of this light actually makes it to Earth. The surrounding dust grains absorb the ultraviolet light and re-emit it in the infrared. Telescopes equipped with sensitive infrared detectors can measure this light, allowing us to peer through the veil of dust and study the earliest stages of stellar birth and the growth of supermassive black holes. This is N5BB Skynet. Okay, there's lots and lots more in this article, and I'm not going to go through it. It's very interesting, but it's long, and I don't want to be talking here for 15 minutes. And so they're talking about a lot of this. Here are the biggest eyes on the sky. The soon-to-launch James Webb Space Telescope. That's right, they're planning on launching it here later this month. I believe the current date is on Wednesday, December the 22nd. If this is incorrect, I'm sure somebody will correct me. It was delayed from the 20th to the 22nd, but I believe that's the current date. The James Webb Space Telescope is poised to greatly expand our understanding of galaxy mergers across cosmic time. This 6.5-meter diameter infrared telescope is due to lift off at the end of 2021, real soon now. Yes, December 22nd. Supposed to be 6:20 a.m. Central Standard Time on December the 22nd. Anyway, that Webb Space Telescope launches. Webb is a scientific successor to IRAS, I-R-A-S, this infrared space astronomy back in the 1990s, and Spitzer Space Telescope, which was decommissioned in 2020. But Webb will be at least 50 times more sensitive and have nearly 10 times the spatial resolution of Spitzer, delivering sharp images of galaxies in the near-infrared parts of the spectrum. It'll also carry imaging spectrometers that can generate hundreds of spectra in a single pointing. This capability will allow it to map star-forming regions and the regions around actively accreting supermassive black holes in nearby mergers in exquisite detail. there's a discussion about a GOALS, goals collaboration, that are going to observe 4 nearby luminous infrared galaxies, and et cetera, et cetera. This is a long article. The next generation very large array is the planned replacement of the 27-dish very large array in New Mexico. By the way, if you haven't visited it, this is a very impressive location out, it's north of Las Cruces, New Mexico. It's northwest of Las Cruces, New Mexico, out in the desert, west of Sirocco. And there are 9 telescopes on each of 3 arms, so 27 total dishes. It's been out there a very long time, but it's very impressive. So the next generation very large array is going to have 263 dishes, radio and millimeter wave interferometer, and it'll have 10 times the sensitivity and resolution of the VLA. Overall, these new telescopes, so that's a radio telescope now, but you got to remember that the short microwaves get clear close to the far, far infrared, you know. If you get far enough in the infrared, you're in the very short microwave region. Overall, these new telescopes will unveil the astrophysics occurring in nearby and early universe galaxy mergers. High-resolution simulations, coupled with these detailed new observations, will be key to understanding how physical feedback processes help to regulate star formation and black hole growth in emerging galaxies. Future planned and proposed observatories will be able to detect the gravitational wave signatures of colliding supermassive black holes and the dusty cores of forming galaxies over the vast majority of cosmic time. As we discover more exotic objects at the farthest reaches of the universe, we will continue to use these new tools to better understand how galaxies are born and live out their lives. End of that topic. I wanted to bring this up because it just was published in Scientific American, and the Webb telescope is going up here later this month, and that's going to be very instrumental at looking at all those merging galaxies. By the way, I saw another report from another source in the last couple of weeks that postulates that the small galaxies, including those near Earth, some of our orbiting ones, that a lot of these little small galaxies actually have black holes at the center of those little small galaxies that we didn't realize were there. And they've done that by looking at the trajectories of stars, the velocity of stars that are going around the centers, because nobody had investigated the centers very carefully. So there may be a lot of black holes out there. Okay, that's the end of that topic. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Or does anybody want to check in? This is the Skynet net on the Dallas Amateur Radio Club repeater. This is N5BB. Come now with your questions, comments, or late check-ins. Okay. Now we get to move to somebody else talking. Chaz, it's your turn for What's Up. And I'm not watching the video feed. I'll try to, Chaz. I gotta find a link to it because Chaz looks like he's got something about my new house. Anyway, take it away, Chaz. This is N5BB, Skynet.
Thank you, Bill. We'll get to that in just a moment, and you don't have to look at the video feed. You know what's going to be on the picture. This is KF5JHA, Chaz. My degree's in astrophysics. I'm in charge of the astrophysics lab and geology lab at the Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus, and we call this segment of Skynet Was Up. I am celebrating my first anniversary of having COVID. Last December, I did not participate in Skynet at all because I was down and out with COVID. So I've got my antibodies the old-fashioned way. I caught the bug. All right, Slide Master, slide number 2, please. Our net control tonight in 5BB. Bill has a beautiful home, if you did not know. If you are watching Skynet on one of our video feeds, then you will see, I hope, a picture of what I took this afternoon of his wonderful home. I think it was around 2 p.m. In 5BB, do you want to describe the picture of what your home looked like at 2 o'clock this afternoon?
Yes. There's a construction fence. There is a porta potty in the back. There is a construction office, which is a reused shipping container, like the ones that are held up off the coast in Florida. And there's 2 little signs in the front, which have a very nice drawing for what the new house will look like. And the other sign is a building permit. If you just gone a couple of days earlier, you could have seen a bunch of machinery, or some people on there with machinery that were injecting soil stabilization chemicals into the ground. This is their 3rd try. The first 2 tries failed. I've got very unstable soil. But enough about me in 5BB.
Those that want to know, Bill is renting a house across the street from where his house is being constructed, and he has a live video feed that you can go take a look at it anytime, day or night. A camera is pointed right across the street, so that's where I got my picture. I did not drive by his house today. Anyway, Slide Master, slide number 3, please. Tonight, on December the 4th, the moon's phase is new. Also today, on December the 4th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth. The moon is at first quarter phase on December the 10th. On December the 17th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth. And on December the 18th, the moon is full. And on December the 26th, the day after Christmas, the moon is at third quarter phase. Slide Master, slide number 4, please. Currently, Venus is so bright that you can actually see it with just your 2 eyes in the daytime with the sun above the horizon. I've done this many times. On the afternoon of December the 6th, the thin crescent moon will be close to Venus. So around 3 p.m., position yourself so that a building or a tree is blocking the sun from your view. Then look up about 1/3 of the way up in the southern sky and find the thin crescent moon. Venus will be to the bright dot just above and a little bit to the left of the moon. You can use a pair of binoculars to find the moon and Venus at first, but then see if you can find them without optical aid. It's a fantastic thing to do. Slide Master, slide number 5, please. Of course, after sunset on December the 6th, around 7 p.m., look for the conjunction of the moon and Venus in the southwestern sky. Slide number 6, please. On the very next night, on December the 7th, around 7 p.m., look for the moon and Saturn in conjunction in the southwestern evening sky. Yes, we have a whole bunch of planets all sort of lined up together. Slide number 7. On the night after that, on December the 8th, around 7 p.m., you can find Jupiter and the moon in conjunction in the southwestern evening sky. Slide number 8, please. The night of December the 13th, 14th, the Gemini meteor shower peaks with a predicted maximum of up to 150 meteors per hour of observing. But the moon will be close to being at full phase, so the fainter meteors won't be seen, so you won't see as many meteors because of that. The best time to observe meteors is the hour just before morning twilight, because the morning side of the Earth is what is running into the debris stream. Slide Masters, slide number 9, please. On the evening of December the 29th, in the west-southwestern evening sky, at around 6 p.m., look for Venus and Mercury in conjunction. They're going to be pretty close together to each other. And slide number 10, please. On December the 31st, the Moon, Mars, and Antares in the east-southeastern morning sky around 6 a.m. is going to be a wonderful sight to see. And this is KF5, JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide number 11, please. Again, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas club meeting will be held on Friday, January the 28th. That's the next one. In December, we have an awards banquet instead. So at 7:30, the meeting will be held on Zoom, and Dr. Noah Pearson from Montana State University will be the featured speaker. If you want to get information about that, you can go to texasastro.org. Also, the public observing sessions are postponed because of COVID, and you can find updated information for that as well at texasastro.org. Slide Masters, slide number 12, please. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information we've just talked about? Or do you have just a general question on astronomy? I don't know everything, but I may know the answer to your question, or maybe someone else here might, because we do have a solar system ambassador on air right now. Come now with your call sign if you have a question. Well, maybe, Kelly. I don't know. She said something about the speaker might be some relationship to a task member. I don't know. I don't know the details of it, but yeah, we'll find out more as we get closer to the task meeting in January. Master, slide number 13. So as the moon waned at the end of November, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live. And until next week, actually, I'll be doing another Skynet segment in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JHA. Back to our net control in 5BB.
Very good, Chaz. If you go to cam.byram.net, Chaz brought it up, that is cam.byrom.net, you will see the live camera looking at my property. I don't know if Tom's going to click on it or not. Now we see Tom himself with his favorite dog in the background walking by. I find this picture more interesting than the static one that Chaz presented, because there's bright objects, and some of them are moving. None of them are astronomical, though, and you will see why it's very hard to do astronomy on my corner, because there's so many incredibly bright lights at the corner, and there's a hospital across the street you can see in the background on the left, with even more lights. So it is a bad place to do astronomy. Sorry about that. Okay, next, let's see what we have to do. The next item on the schedule is space exploration and space history. So first, let's check for any additional check-ins or comments. This is N5BB. Skynet, any additional check-ins? That's you, Bueller? Bueller? Check-ins? Hey. Getting people to their hand up is difficult in a meeting. Okay, now let's talk about space exploration and space history. I think it's going to be Kelly tonight. Kelly, I think you're going to talk about the Europa Clipper. Sounds like a ship to me. K5KTX, this is N5BB. Skynet.
Yes, indeed. This is K5KTX, and Europa Clipper is a ship. So, finding plumes at Jupiter's moon Europa is an exciting prospect, but scientists warn it'll be tricky, even from up close. In 2005, images of a brilliant watery plume erupting from the surface of Saturn's moon, Enceladus, captivated the world. The giant column of vapor, ice particles, and organic molecules spraying from the moon's south polar region suggested that there's a liquid water ocean below Enceladus' ice shell and confirmed the moon is geologically active. The plume also thrust Enceladus and other worlds in the outer solar system, with no atmospheres and far from the heat of the sun, toward the top of NASA's list of places to search for signs of life. Scientists now are preparing for a mission to another ice-covered ocean world with possible plumes, Jupiter's moon, Europa. Scheduled to launch in 2024, NASA's Europa Clipper spacecraft will study the moon from its deep interior to its surface to determine whether it has ingredients that make it a viable home for life. Like Enceladus, Europa is geologically dynamic, meaning both ice-covered moons generate heat inside as their solid layers stretch and flex from the gravitational tug-of-war with their host planets and neighboring moons. This, instead of heat from the sun, keeps subsurface water from freezing. The heat may also help produce or circulate life's chemical building blocks at their seafloors, including carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, and sulfur. But that's where the similarities end. Evidence suggests Europa may vent water from its subsurface just like Enceladus. For example, scientists using NASA's Galileo spacecraft, NASA's Hubble telescope, and large Earth-based telescopes have reported detections of faint water plumes or their chemical components at Europa, but no one is certain. Scientists are drawn to plumes for a couple of reasons. First, they're undeniably cool, but more practically, plumes offer scientists easier access to Europa's interior. It all comes down to whether Europa is habitable, and that comes down to having some understanding of what is happening below the surface, which we can't reach yet. In other words, the magic of Europa, an archetype for a potentially habitable world is hidden from view deep within the moon. Compared to Enceladus, which is the size of Texas, Europa is about a quarter of Earth's size, or a bit smaller than Earth's moon. As evidence suggests, Europa has a much deeper saltwater ocean than Enceladus, possibly 40 to 100 miles deep, which means it could contain about twice as much water as Earth's ocean. Some scientists hypothesize that Europa's ocean could be reacting with superheated rocks below its seafloor, possibly through hydrothermal vents. On Earth, such areas are hotbeds of chemical activity that nourishes innumerable creatures. Scientists say there also could be large pockets of melted water in Europa's ice shell, which are more likely than the ocean to be the source of plumes. These pockets could produce cozy habitats for organisms as well. Because it's much closer to Jupiter than Enceladus is to Saturn, more heat is generated at Europa from friction produced as it circles its host planet. Given that internal heat stimulates geological activity on rocky worlds, Europa is expected to have more extensive geology than Enceladus. Some scientists predict that Europa has plate tectonics that shift and recycle the icy blocks making up the moon's surface. If so, Europa could be circulating nutrients produced on the surface by radiation from Jupiter, such as oxygen, to pockets of liquid in the ice shell or perhaps to the ocean itself. Through Europa Clipper, scientists will have a chance to test some of their predictions by analyzing the chemical makeup of plumes or the traces they may leave on the surface. scientists warn that European plumes, even if they're there, could be hard to detect even from up close. They may be sporadic and they may be small and thin, given that Europa's gravity, which is much stronger than Enceladus's, likely would keep these water plumes close to the surface. That's a drastic departure from Enceladus's spectacular vapor column. It's always on and bigger than the moon itself, spraying icy particles hundreds of miles above the surface. So Europa Clipper scientists are devising a variety of creative strategies to find active plumes when the spacecraft begins exploring Europa in 2031. They're not relying on them to understand what's going on inside the moon. The Europa Clipper team is set to succeed whether or not researchers find plumes at Europa, though many scientists hope for a spectacular water show to enrich the mission and our understanding of Europa. So we have about 10 years to wait for science to begin on this mission, but it's still an exciting mission to start following. And in space history this past week, starting with November the 29th, back in 1961, astronaut John Glenn was selected to be the first American sent into Earth orbit. Scott Carpenter was named as the backup. A public announcement wasn't made until early December. Glenn would launch in the Friendship 7 capsule just a few months later on February the 20th, 1962. It was on this Mercury Atlas 6 mission, when the automatic system in his craft malfunctioned, that Glenn's skills as a pilot would truly be tested. Glenn's ability to successfully maneuver his capsule through its second and third orbits was a true testament to his skill and demeanor. Glenn went on to be a 4-term senator from Ohio and became the oldest person to fly in space, or at the time he was the oldest person to fly in space when he launched on Space Shuttle mission STS-95 in 1998. On December the 2nd, December 2nd is a noteworthy day in the history of NASA's space shuttle launches. 4 shuttle launches happened on December the 2nd, more than any other day in the calendar year. In 1988, STS-27 on Atlantis launched on a Department of Defense or DoD mission. In 1990, STS-35 on Columbia launched with the Astro 1 Observatory. In 1992, STS-53 or Discovery launched on another DoD mission. And finally, in 1993, STS-61 on Endeavour launched on the first Hubble Space Telescope servicing mission. Did you notice that each of the December 2nd launches was on a different shuttle? The only shuttle to not launch on this day was Challenger. And speaking of STS-61, Space Shuttle Endeavour launched on December 2nd, 1993 for the first of 5 servicing missions to the Hubble Space Telescope. On this mission, crew members successfully corrected a flaw in the Hubble's primary mirror by installing the Corrective Optics Space Telescope Axial Replacement, or COSTAR. COSTAR countered the effects of the flawed mirror, which had been ground too flat along its outer edge by 2.2 microns, 1/50th the thickness of a human hair. COSTAR redirected light reflected from the outer edge of the mirror just enough that it would line up exactly with the light reflected everywhere else on the mirror as intended. Over the course of their 10-day mission, the crew aboard STS-61 successfully installed COSTAR and replaced a number of other components that facilitated a flood of precision science data. On December 3rd, back in 1974, Pioneer 11 made its closest approach as it flew by the planet Jupiter. Pioneer 11 was the second spacecraft to do a Jupiter flyby. Pioneer 10 had flown by a year earlier in December 1973. But Pioneer 11 flew on a very different trajectory that allowed it to return the first images of the polar regions of Jupiter, and that brought it 3 times closer to the planet than Pioneer 10. Another important difference from the previous mission is that Pioneer 11 used Jupiter's gravity to set it on a course for Saturn. About 5 years later, in September 1979, Pioneer 11 became the first probe to do a flyby of Saturn. Pioneer 11 was launched on April the 6th, 1973. Science operations stopped in 1995, 22 years after launch, and after the encounter with Saturn, the spacecraft is now on a path away from the solar system toward the center of our galaxy. And On this day in history, December the 4th, 1965, Gemini 7 launched on the longest flight of Project Gemini, 14 days. Astronauts Frank Borman and Jim Lovell were on tap for an endurance flight, but they also became part of the first successful orbital rendezvous. That first rendezvous was planned in October 1965 for Gemini 6 with an Agena Target Vehicle, or ATV, but the ATV launch failed. It was decided that Gemini 7 could serve as a rendezvous target instead. Astronauts Wally Schirra and Tom Stafford launched on Gemini 6 on December 15th and met up with Borman and Lovell about 6 hours after launch. And also on December 4th, 1978, the Pioneer Venus orbiter arrived in orbit around Venus. The orbiter was the first of a two-spacecraft combination designed to conduct a comprehensive investigation of Venus. It was launched on May 20th, 1978 and remained in orbit around Venus until August 1992. The primary objective of the orbiter was to investigate the solar wind in the Venusian environment, map Venus's surface through a radar imaging system, and study the characteristics of the upper atmosphere and ionosphere. The orbiter's mission lasted nearly 14 years and it carried 17 instruments. And finally, on astronaut birthdays for this past week, we have on November 29th is Kenneth Cameron. He was on 3 space shuttle missions, STS-37, 56, and 74. December the 1st is Terry Virts. He was on STS-130 and part of the Expedition 4243 crew. December the 3rd is Stephen Swanson's birthday. He was on Space Shuttle missions STS-117, 119, and he was part of the Expedition 3940 crew. Currently, he is a distinguished educator in residence at my alma mater of Boise State University. And finally, December the 4th, Ronald Sega. He was on 2 Space Shuttle missions, STS-60 and 76. And that's all I've got. Back to you, Bill. This is K5KTX.
Thank you, Kelly. This is N5BB, Skynet, net control. Do we have any late check-ins or questions or comments about Kelly's segment? This is N5BB.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, shot on forward, late check-in.
Hello, Sean. I recognize KB9SOK. Well, Kelly, I find the Europa Clipper mission very interesting. They're going to go, something like 49 times around Jupiter and get some passes of near Europa. They're only going to be like 25 miles from the surface. So they're going to have a lot of data from all those flybys, probably from different vantage points and angles, and they're going to have a magnetometer and lots of cool information there. You know, we're finding so many things about parts of our solar system that until a few years ago, we just knew as pretty poor quality images in telescopes, earthbound telescopes. They were pretty crummy. You know, we didn't have even very good imaging of the big red spot on Jupiter or Saturn's rings until we sent spacecraft out there. Okay, so now, what is next? Ms. Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. So go ahead, Chaz. What's going on with the Constellation of the Week? This is N5BB.
Well, thank you, Bill. I'm looking at the clock, and I have about 4 minutes left of Skynet, and this is probably going to take me 8 minutes to do this. It's up to you if you want me to do this now, or I can postpone this till next week. KF5JHA.
Why don't we postpone it till next week? We're going to definitely postpone the jokes, although I know you'd like to give them. Let's just move ahead here to... I'm going to skip space launches for the week, except, Tom, are there any really important space launches for this week? This is N5BB.
I'm looking here, Bill. ISS, well, we have on December 8th ISS 66S. The Russian government Soyuz rocket will launch a crewed Soyuz MS-20 spacecraft to the International Space Station on a 12-day flight with cosmonaut Alexander Mazurkin and space tourists Yusaku Mizawa and Yozo Harano. The rocket will fly in the Soyuz 2.1A configuration. That's it from here. Back to you, KE5ICF.
Very good. And stay tuned, of course, for the James Webb Space Telescope 3 days before Christmas. I know it's late, Brenda, but I'm interested to hear about the stellar cocoon with organic molecules at the edge of the galaxy. Brenda, WB50ZL, can you give us an overview of that neat topic in 5BB? We may have lost Brenda, or she may have gone away from the radio. WB50ZL, this is N5BB. You still there, Brenda? Well, I'm hoping we can hear about that next week. Tom, are there any really amazing... have you looked at the ISS passes? Are there any exciting ones coming up?
Bill, not really. I mean, we've got December 6th and December 9th. Actually, the December 9th one's probably the best. Let's see here. I'll give you a brief thing on it. December 9th is... if I can get to it. Hold on. Here we go. It says minus 3.6 magnitude. It's at 18:05 in the evening. Out of the northwest, reaches highest point 76 degrees at 18:08, and it will fall at 18:11 at 10 degrees to the southeast. It's almost overhead. Pretty good pass. Back to you, KE5ICF.
Okay, did you say that was December the 6th local time?
That is correct.
So that's Monday evening, right before the 30 minutes or a little bit before the traffic net. So that sounds like a pretty interesting pass at a nice, accessible time. You don't have to get up at dark 30 in the morning. Very good. Well, I think we're going to go on and close the net. Does anybody have any last check-ins or comments for the net before we close it? This is N5BB with Skynet.
November 5, Kilo Romeo
I'm
Golf.
completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
You got clobbered. I think that was Kevin in 5KRG. Kevin, if that was you, go ahead and make your comment.
It's N5KRG, just checking in for the count. N5KRG.
Very good, Kevin. I'm revising my count to 27 participants tonight. Thanks to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other Dallas Amateur Radio Club nets. If you'd like to try this, hang your hand at this or any other net, send an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics about this on Facebook and Twitter, and our audio and visual streams. So to see all the information you'd like to have about what's been going on with Skynet, go to w5fc.org, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club website, and you will find lots of links there and information. Information, that's what we want, information. Until next Saturday night, this is N5BB Bill, closing a net at 10:31 p.m., returning the repeater to normal amateur radio use, although because Afterglow is coming up, it may not be all that normal here for a while. Good evening to all. See you later. This is N5BB Clear.
And we'll begin the Afterglow movie net here in about 5 minutes. So take 5 minutes and come on back. We'll be discussing the movie we'll be discussing. Dreamscape from 1984. So come back in about 5 minutes for KE5ICX.
If you don't have Echolink, you've got to get it as an amateur radio operator because we've been having a Christmas pun-off, JJ and I primarily over there, and I have to do one last one for all of you, but over radio frequency. What do you call an obnoxious reindeer? Oh, I guess you give up. What do you call an obnoxious reindeer? Rude. Aw. Have a good night, everyone. KF5JHA.
Oh my, Chaz. I occasionally looked over at the Echolink thing and saw them flying by, but I was too busy with running the net to read very carefully. They were very distracting. I did not have time to watch the movie, so I fell through on my obligations. I apologize. So I will not be participating in the Afterglow net since I have absolutely no idea what went on. I started to watch it, but before I even got past the credits, I was distracted with lots and lots of other things that occurred today, such as a Christmas parade in Irving that we had to help with, and many other things. So, could not do it. Good night to all, and 5BB Clear.
right, this is Tom, KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5, Indeed Charlie X-Ray. I'll be your net control tonight for the Afterglow Movie Net. Tonight's movie is Dreamscape from 1984, an American dark science fiction adventure film. It was directed by Joseph Rubin and written by David Daughtry with Chuck Russell and Rubin co-writing. Stars Dennis Quaid, Capshaw, Max von Sydow, that guy, and Christopher Plummer. I didn't know you could have two big names in the same movie, but apparently you can. So we're going to be talking about the film. I'm going to give you a little warm-up here and tell you what the plot was, and then we will take check-ins, and in those check-ins, I'd like to know your name, your name. Did you see Dreamscape? And I guess that's it. Oh, just your check-in. Oh, did you see the movie? So let me read through this. I guess also I should mention that the first thing we'll do is talk about plot, and we'll go another round and talk about characterization, and then the third round is generally anything you want to talk about, special effects or music or whatever. So let me go ahead and get started. So this is from Wikipedia. It says Alex Gardner is a psychic, not a psycho, but a psychic, who has been using his talent solely for personal gain, which mainly consists of gambling and womanizing. When he was 19 years old, Alex had been subject to scientific research documenting his psychic abilities. But in this study, he disappeared. After running afoul with a local gangster extortionist named Sneed, Alex evades two of Sneed's thugs by allowing himself to be taken by two men, Finch and Babcock, who identify themselves as being from an academic institution. At the institution, Alex is reunited with his former mentor, Dr. Paul Novotny, played by Max von Sydow, who is now involved in government-funded psychic research. Novotny, aided by fellow scientist Dr. Jane DeVries, not that DeVries, but she's a doctor, has developed a technique that allows psychics to voluntarily link with minds of others by projecting themselves into the subconscious during REM sleep. Monotony equates the original idea to the Dreamscape project to the practice of the Sonoy natives of Malaysia who believe the dream world is just as real as reality. The project was intended to diagnose and treat sleep disorders, particularly nightmares, but it's been hijacked by Bob Blair, played by Christopher Plummer, a powerful government agent. Novotny convinces Alex to join the program in order to investigate Blair's intentions. Alex gains experience with the technique by helping a man who is worried about his wife's infidelity and by treating a young boy named Buddy, who is plagued with nightmares so terrible that the previous psychic lost his sanity trying to help him. Buddy's nightmares involves a large, sinister snake man. A subplot involving Alex and Jane's growing infatuation accumulates with him sneaking into Jane's dream to have sex with her. I guess that's the R part, but I never could figure out what the R part was to this movie. He does this without technological aid, something no one else has been able to achieve. With the help of novelist Charles Prince, played by Norm from Cheers, who has been covertly investigating the project for a new book. Alex learns that Blair intends to use the dream linking technique for assassination. Blair murders Prince and Novotny to silence them. The President of the United States, played by Eddie Albert, is admitted as a patient due to recurring nightmares. Blair assigns Tommy Ray Glateman, a mentally unstable psychic who murdered his own father, to enter the President's nightmare and assassinate him. People who die in their dreams also die in real world. Blair considers the President's nightmares about nuclear holocaust as a sign of political weakness, which he deems a liability in the upcoming negotiations for nuclear disarmament. And this is KE5ICX. And finally, Alex projects himself into the President's dream, a nightmare of post-nuclear war wasteland to try and protect him. After a fight with Tommy rips out a police officer's heart, Tommy attempts to incite a mutant mob against the President. Battles Alex in the form of a Snake Man from Buddy's dream. Alex assumes the appearance of Tommy's murdered father in order to distract him, allowing the president to impale him with a spear. The president is grateful to Alex, but reluctant to confront Blair, who wields considerable political power. To protect himself and Jane, Alex enters Blair's dream and kills him before Blair can retaliate. Who would have guessed it? The film ends with Jane and Alex boarding a train to Louisville, Kentucky, intent on making their previous dream encounter a reality. They are surprised to meet the ticket collector from James' dream, but they decide to ignore it and keep on. Roll credits. And that is the synopsis for the movie Dreamscape from 1984, your assigned movie for this week. I will now take check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see Dreamscape from 1984? You didn't have to see it in 1984, you just have to have seen it. So here we go.
All right, Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey Jane there, Weatherford. I saw it.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony and Dallas. I realized when I started watching it that I'd seen Inner Space instead.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brendan DeSoto. Yes, I saw it.
Okay, we got 3 out of that. We got KG5BZWJ, he saw it. NT5TM Tony, he either saw this movie or Inner Space. We don't know which, but it doesn't really matter. You can talk about either one. And Brenda, WB50ZL, she also saw the movie Dreamscape. Anyone else want to check in? You don't necessarily have to have seen the movie. We'll talk about all these subliminal films and REM sleep and anything else. Just if you want to check in, that's perfectly fine too. Please come down with your call sign, your name, and did you see Dreamscape?
Whiskey 5, Echo Bravo Bravo, David in Dallas. Yes, I saw it.
Okay, we picked up one more. That's W5EBB. David in Dallas. Yes, he saw the movie. All right, I'll do one more round. We'll see if anybody's there. It's been kind of light all evening long, so it's just possible people are watching one of the championship games. I think Michigan just won, in fact. Kind of seeing it in the background here. And some of the other games. So that could be. Anybody else want to check in? Tonight's movie, Dreamscape from 1984. All right, that's okay. It may be a quick evening, so we'll see how it goes. So we'll just go in order. We've got J, KG5BZWJ. First up is... You are first up, and what do you think about the plot to Dreamscape from KE5ICX? Oh, I lost Jay already. I forgot to ask, anyone on Echolink want to join us? Please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see the movie?
Jay on Echolink.
Oh, sorry. I did the radio
get out of the radio room, or there'll be the echo through there. Sorry, I've got the video stream, and then I heard you on the video stream, which got me confused because I thought the radio was in use, but I didn't look back at the app. Anyway, I'm back in. About the movie, what to say? It's kind of a fun little romp in a way. It's kind of also kind of. I've seen so many times. I don't know if it's a derivative of those things, or if those things are derivative of this, or what. There's not that much going on here. It doesn't entirely make sense, but it's not as bad as some of the films we've seen. So it's something that it's like I can kind of I've learned to kind of forgive for this kind of movie. Watch it for what it is, and you can enjoy it. What else to say? I mean, there's some. It's just the fantasy. You just got not think about the total fantasy elements of it, and just try to make the story as it is. And I guess ignoring the pure fantasy aspect of it, it was okay. That's really, there's not much really to say. I mean, it's just something that you just kind of watch without thinking about it. KG5BW.
All right, thank you, Jay. Next up is Tony, NT5TM. I know you got something to say about the plot from whatever movie you'd like to talk about, Tony. KE5ICX.
Well, it's kind of interesting because I was sure I'd seen this movie before. I know I must have seen a mediocre Dennis Quaid science fiction movie. But then, as the first 20 minutes went past, I realized that I'd actually seen Inner Space, which is sort of like Fantastic Voyage. Kind of like, you accidentally get implanted into somebody and you're a microscopic person. And it also starred Dennis Quaid, but it wasn't this movie. So I have never seen this movie before, and I tonight only watched a small piece of it. I was immediately struck by two things. First is that the soundtrack was horrible. You hire actors, they cost money, and cinematographers who cost money, and you buy film, which is very expensive, and you process the film and so on. And then you do your music on some little Casio synthesizer that you got at the mall for $39.95. I don't know what possesses filmmakers to do that, but I wish they would have stopped, preferably in about 1978, so I wouldn't have to watch the movies. Whatever kind of score it is you want to do, whether it's symphonic or jazz or one person with a bass guitar or Yoko Ono doing a scream jam and get back, just hire some person to do that. Don't use the cheap synthesizer. It just, sounds horrible. That said, the part of the plot I saw was also pretty awful. If you're a psychic and you're trying to make money surreptitiously, the horse racing industry, which is notoriously corrupt, is a very bad place to start. You should probably just be speculating in stock in some way because, well, lots of people do that, and there's tons of insider trading. So, if you make more money than you should, they'll just assume you're one of them. So, yeah, I kind of was thinking it was the wrong movie, and this one had a bad score and was off to a bad start with the plot. I don't know if I'll finish it or not. It depends on what the rest of you have to say. NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. And, I'm not sure what to tell you about it, but, yeah, I don't disagree with you. Well, if you want to skip to the score, there's nothing wrong with that. I want you to know something, that Maurice Jarre did the score for this movie. You may recognize one of his other movies that was kind of known at the time called Lawrence of Arabia. Lawrence of Arabia. The guy who did the Casio music did Lawrence of Arabia. He also did music for Dr. Zhivago, another small film, and Topaz, Alfred Hitchcock film. Ryan's Daughter. Well, you know, all I can tell you is this, is when I saw his name on there, and I was thinking, you know, it's like asking Mozart to compose for a kazoo. I was kind of disappointed in it as well. But if you listen carefully, and I did, you'll hear that there was a little sax solo kind of running in the background, which is definitely Maurice Jarre material. So that was pretty good. But sometimes it's one of those things when you know you're the director of the movie. And you decide all the different characters, and the producer, of course, makes those decisions too. When you decide you want to do something really modern and exciting like electronic music in its primordial state, then you do it. And they pay you gobs of money to do it if you're Maurice Jarre. So whatever you want, I'll be happy to do it. Très bon. He's French, you know. All right, I'll make my comments at the end about the film, but I just thought I'd mention that because I just wanted to stab you in the heart and, well, pull it out like that bad guy did. But I can't tell you that because it ruins the ending for you. Okay, next is Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, your thoughts on the plot for Dreamscape from 1984 from KE5ICX.
This is WB5OZL. I also got real excited when I saw Maurice Jarre's name on there. His music was not memorable, and I don't know what the story is, if they just gave him an afternoon to finish it, or they put him under some constraints, or, you know, maybe he just didn't care. I don't know. You wouldn't pick this out as one of his, though. I don't know how they made this movie for $6 million with all those stars in it. There's got to be a story there. Then it turned around and made $12 million, so that's not too bad, really. The story, Roger Zelazny wrote the outline of the story and sold it, and so his name is not on it anywhere. It's based on his book, The Dream Master. So I think that's why it's a pretty decent plot on the whole. Doesn't have a lot of stupid plot holes and dumb things going on. You know, I thought it was an okay plot. I enjoyed the movie. I thought the pacing was pretty good, despite its flaws. The sound and the music and so on. It was, I thought it was an engaging movie. I wanted to keep watching it. I never, at any point, said, oh, I wish this was over, or just shoot me now. All right, back to Ned, WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. I think this is going to go pretty fast tonight. Now, David, W5EBB. David, I know you've pulled out some really good comments about the film. You always do. So please go ahead from KE5ICX.
I don't think I'm going to get extra credit on tonight's movie. It's pretty basic. You know, it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. I've seen it before. It's got good pace. You know, nothing too complicated about it. Straight ahead, the plot, no big surprises. And it was popular movie fodder of the day. You know, you had movies around 1984 in the 80s about dream states, like brainstorm and altered states. It was a popular topic for movies, and they just take it and run with it here, and a pretty decent plot, I thought, for an entertaining movie. The hero establishes himself early on as the likable guy with good abs, and the bad guys with their slithery, slimy, evil motives unfold, and they eventually get their comeuppance. So the guy gets the girl, and vice versa. Tie a bow around it, and it's just a nice watchable movie. And even there were songs of the day. You had Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. That was 70s, I guess. These Dreams by Heart, and they explore the what's explored in this movie. The division between a dream state and a awake state. The dreams sometimes may go on when you close your eyes. You may live another life in your dreams, and you feel like you're away and apart from that when you're awake. And that's the essence of that These Dreams song. And it's strange and a symptom of an inverted, upside-down world when the events of the waking world seems more like a dream and unreal, and the sleeping dream world seems the more real. And in this movie, if others can get inside and view your dreams, hey, that's even more real. But anyway, it's basic science fiction for a popular genre of that time in the 80s. And I think they did a pretty good job of it. W5EBB.
All right, thank you, David, and thanks for those comments. That's pretty fair. All right, let me see. Are there any other additional check-ins? Tonight's movie is the 1984 film Dreamscape, starring Dennis Quaid and Max von Sydow and Christopher Plummer. Does anybody want to join us this evening? Please come to your call sign name, and did you see this particular film? It's not a requirement to check in.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo. Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I seen the movie.
Okay, well, we picked up Sean, KB5SOK. Well, Sean, you're next. So, what did you think about the plot to this film?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. I think it's been pretty well said already. It's a pretty basic plot. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I agree that the music was pretty horrible, surprising for whodunit. But we've seen a lot of this in the 80s, actually, where they were trying to do the modern synthesizer thing, and it just typically never went over well. And it almost had a feel of a made-for-TV movie more than it did an actual one released at the theaters. But it was okay. It's kind of your classic, the reluctant hero at the first. He's either, down on his luck, or he just doesn't want to be the good guy, and then he eventually gets coaxed into it. We've seen this from time and time and time and time again. And that part, is very predictable, kind of old. I don't mind a movie with a nice happy ending, because sometimes it seems like lately all the modern movies just want to end badly, where everybody dies, or you don't walk away a lot of times with a good feeling anymore, it seems like, with a lot of these modern. So I do like a movie from time to time, at least a good ending. And this was definitely, it was said, it was just kind of very predictable, went through, your basic plot. The good guy wins, gets the girl. So it wasn't, it was okay. The one part I thought was a little bit odd was, the part where he went to the girl's dream and he seemed confused why she was upset about it, and it's like, well, really? it seemed a little. So yeah, that part is probably the only part I found that was, a little strange about it. But all in all, pretty decent actors in this one, pretty decent little plot. It was definitely, like was said, very popular topic in the 80s, and as time goes on, we're now finding out that the government has been done over the years a lot of secret, tests of people with the telepathy, and trying to read people's minds, and You know, so it is something that really is being researched. So it was an easy thing to make a movie about from the rumors and stuff heard. So, oh no, okay. Back to net control. This is KB9SOK.
All right, thank you, Sean. Good comments. Let's see my thoughts on the film. Well, okay, you wonder where all the money went, or how they were able to get these stars. Well, I think most of the money went to the stars, Max von Sydow and Christopher Plummer, to be honest with you. Dennis Quaid was 12 and had to drive. His mom drove him to the studio, so he wasn't really commanding a huge salary. And Kate Capshaw, I don't know who she is, but I'm sure she's a wonderful actress and old and retired now, and probably makes lots of money. But my problems, I had several problems with the movie itself. One of them is Quaid is a psychic. What is it that makes him able to win on the horses? What, does he get inside the brains of the horses to pick the winners? I'm not quite sure I understand that part of it. That made no sense to me. So I just can't, I don't understand how that plays out. Some of the other things that bothered me about the film is, and I could be wrong, I don't know, I'm not into the government underworld, nor do I understand it, and basically watching what's happened in government over the last, I don't know, 5, 6 years, I still don't understand it, so I'm not sure who the big movers and shakers are in this case. So it seems odd to me that in the plot that the president gets stuck in an exposed area, and everybody is left in the building. They don't clear the entire building out. Everybody can get in. The Secret Service is not hanging around by freight doors like you would think. It's completely open and you can get inside. I mean, it's like nobody, even if the president isn't known to, is doing this by stealth, you're still going to have an army of Secret Service people that are going to show up and protect the president, and there seemed to be none of that. I found the way they handled this whole thing with the secret agency and being able to read people's minds and getting inside, it would seem to me that if and maybe this is explained in the film, maybe my mind kind of stopped paying attention or something, but the whole idea of them going in and just doing the psychoanalyzation from inside, be able to figure out people's fears and solve that, it seems like sort of a quaint idea. The idea that you could actually get in and be in people's dreams, that just seems like a beginning point for all the other things that can happen. How do you feel? What is the pain? What are you thinking? How does the synobalistic process work? How could you improve? How could you alter a person's psyche, for example? What's real? What's not? I mean, there's a lot of directions they could have gone with this thing, and instead they went with kind of a simple thing, saying, well, we're going to cure your fears, Sigmund Freud style, with just showing up without the couch and inside the dream. Hi, I'm here, and wave and all that, and work with them. And you think, okay, well, geez, it's like very, their goals were so lowbrow, I was surprised. Of course, you know, you look at somebody like that Christopher Plummer, he's a smart dresser, he's very articulate, he knows everything, and he's just doing the basic stuff too. Let's just kill the president because I don't like the color of his shirt. Really? It just didn't make any sense to me. Another thing that surprised, well, this gets into characterization. I'll hold on the characterization. I found the characterization somewhat uncoupled, but I'll get to that in the next round. Let's see, what else do I want to say about this thing? The dream sequences themselves, they were kind of entertaining. It's obvious that you got to remember too. You look at something like Star Wars, which came out in 1977. This movie came out in 1984. We had 2001: A Space Odyssey in 1968. And you look at the special effects in this film, you can say, well, let's take one of those words away. I'm going to take the word special away, but you can also take the word effects away, and you end up with whatever you end up with, which is essentially no. This was not very convincing. Snake Man, oh, jeez, looked like a bad episode of Kojak. And why the heck that was supposed to scare the bejesus out of our protagonist, Alex, is beyond me. That made no sense to me. It looked fake from the very beginning, and Alex is supposed to feel like this is something that's supposed to scare him. I don't think so. So it was an okay film. I agree with other people's comments. I thought that it was somewhat entertaining. I think the pacing was a little slow for me. I don't know. It just seemed to kind of creep along. There's a lot of talk and not a lot of development in that talk. How many times could Alex go down and watch what was going on, and then they're told, don't do that anymore? Does anybody lock doors anymore? I mean, it says authorized personnel, stay out. And the door is open. It's got this big, huge sign that invites everybody to come on down and see what's there. It's a college. It's a college. It's a university. Every kid in the world's going to want to go in there and find out what's going on, and then report it in the newspaper or something. Really? There's no doors. There's not even a lock that you can see. It's just a door that opens up. It's obvious. I think it was done on a campus somewhere, and that was to one of the halls that they were doing classes or something, and it just isn't locked. So, just a guess on my part. All right, I've done enough ranting on that one. Let me see if any additional check-ins. Anybody else want to join us this evening who has not done so before we go to the top of the list? Tonight's movie is Dreamscape from 1984. So if you've seen the film recently or not so recently and you want to talk about it, please come with your call sign name. And whether you saw it, if you didn't, that's okay too. You can rant about some other Dreamscape-like movie. Please come down. Okay, hearing none, let's go to the top. Talk about characterization. J, KEG5BZW. What did you think about the characters in this from KE5ICX?
KE5BZW. Characters. Well, actually, let me get a few thoughts. Aren't strictly character related. Might be character related. I should have written them down. About what was Quaid's character name? No, I guess. I'm surprised I actually remembered that. But you know, they posed him like he was this, let's just call it ESP / whatever. I hate to call it ESP, Sixth Sense, whatever. I just don't know what you call it. But it's a stereotype that honestly even continues to this day, or archetype, whatever, of fantasy, where, okay, yeah, he's got psychic powers, and okay, he has telekinesis. They only just mentioned that. He didn't even demonstrate that or whatever. But, well, I take that back. He might use that in the car when he was escaping. But I tried to look and see if that was if there's like an obvious shot where it's like the pedal moved by itself or something. There might have been something there. I got the feeling that he did use that to get out, but but you know, it's all together. So he just mastered the whatever, the stupid. Anyway, so you know, genius character, whatever. There's not much to him. There's not really much to Plummer's character. I know it seems like he starred as a few evil characters. Work. I mean, God, now I'm just wondering. I'll have to look on IMDb what he's done. That was, as far as him being an evil character, that was, you know, actually, since, I mean, he obviously is a good actor and he's got decent characters he's played. This wasn't one. I did kind of like Max von Sydow's character. Maybe that's just, I may have a fondness for Max. I don't know. And Kate was, you know, generic love interest. So, well, yeah, it's under George Lynch, which is like, well, she was a Cheers thing. I've already, it's been too long since I've watched Cheers. Is it George? No, it can't be George. It's, whatever. I want to say whatever that phrase is, except for I've long forgot about it just because this is George Lynch. It's dumb. And of course they killed them off anyway, so what difference does it make? The minions under Plummer's character were, you know, generic minions. There's just not much. It's like I said before, you turn your brain off to watch the film. That's all I got. KG5BCW.
Okay, thank you, Jay. And Tony, I'll press upon you. I know you haven't seen much of the movie. NT5TM, what did you think of the characters? Or if you just want to single out a single character and talk about them, that's fine too. Whatever you'd like to do. Or if you want to talk about some character in some other movie you prefer, you can do that as well from KE5ICX.
Well, I feel like an improperly appreciative guest here because that was a wonderful invitation. And if only I had seen more of the movie, I would have an opinion about its characters. But sadly, I did not, and so I do not. I have nothing to say, and you have tried to give me every opportunity, but yet, nothing to say. NT5TM, sorry about that.
Boy, did I ever. But, you know, you could have talked about anything. All right, never mind. Next up, WB5OZL. Brenda, you want to talk about characterization? Or whatever you want. Do what Tony couldn't do. Entertain us, please. From KE5ICX.
Yeah, no pressure. This is WB5OZL. Well, I thought the actors were really well cast, but actors like that they do pretty well in most movies because they're such good actors. Tom, you mentioned you didn't know who Kate Capshaw was? Yeah, you do. She was the love interest in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. The opening sequence, she comes out in a red dress in a nightclub and she's singing Anything Goes in Mandarin. And that movie is where she met her future husband, Steven Spielberg, who she's still married to, which is probably why she hasn't acted in 20 years. Nobody's seen her. I guess she doesn't need the money. Another person who is memorable from another movie is David Patrick Kelly, who played Psychopath. he was in The Warriors, and a really famous line where he clinks 3 beer bottles together and says, you know, warriors come out and play, in a real creepy voice. He ad-libbed that, but it is a real iconic and famous line from that movie. He's also had a very illustrious career because he's an excellent actor. Let's see. Honestly, I didn't quite believe Eddie Albert is the president. I don't know why. I just, just somehow it didn't seem to click for me. Other characters. The monsters were pretty good. And, yeah, I can't believe they made this movie, $6 million. Because it had a lot going for it. Quaid, Dennis Quaid, yeah, he looks like he's 12. And he's had such a wonderful career. But he was really good in this, despite being pretty young. And he might not have been all that well known at the time, but definitely did a good job. All right, back to net, WV50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Next up is David, W5EBB. David, your thoughts on characterization for the movie Dreamscape from 1984, KE5ICX.
Stephen who? That director that was married to Capshaw? Stephen somebody. Yeah. No, of course she was in at least one of the Indiana Jones movies, and she had her run. She had quite a few movies, and of course you had Norm, George Wendt, as the very minor character who doesn't last very long as the reporter who's trying to uncover this, or not a reporter, a novelist. But yeah, all the other ones. Oh, and Corey Yothers. I guess that's Tina Yothers' brother from Family Ties. At least he has the same freckles. It looks the same. But most of the characters, they played their parts well, and I think the main characters are the two. Well, the main bad guys are both profiles of psychopaths. So Tommy Ray Glattman, Tommy Ray. I mean, that's a perfect combo for the name of a psychopath. Tommy Ray Glattman, and in real life, what's his name? David Patrick Kelly. You're 2 for 2 there with 3 names. And immediately that says you're either a lone gunman, a serial killer, but definitely a confirmed psychopath. So he's the more overt one. There's no hiding the fact that he's not just a little off. He's, already in the deep end. But then you've got Christopher Plummer, maybe a worse version of a psychopath. One who absolutely has no remorse or no conscience about killing somebody if it meets their objective. And he is the cool customer, calm, cool, and collected, smiles to you to your face, but then stabs you in the back. And that's the thing about some of the worst psychopaths that have been serial killers, really. And you would know it because outwardly they're well dressed, they're pleasant, they're friendly, they're suave. You would never see it coming, and I think that's how they entice a lot of their victims. But enough of that. But they were some bad guys. Now the question is, can you really get into somebody's dreams, or more generally, can one person get into another person's thoughts and read their minds? Even without being connected to a bunch of machines and without any particular types of drugs used also to augment that. In the 1998 semi-autobiographical book, Running Naked Through the Mind Field, from 1988 by Carey Mullis, the Nobel Prize winner in chemistry and inventor of the PCR test, he talks about a lot of subjects in a small 200-page book, such as whatever happened to the scientific method and who's minding the store. And there's a chapter that relates to this movie called An Evening with Harry. And in it, one of his colleagues sits him down in the kitchen table, I think over a beer. It might have been laced with something, I don't know. But he says, okay, Carrie, I want you to just look at my eyes and just try not to blink. Just look at my eyes. And he said, I just want you to see what you can feel. And they sort of mind meld. And while he's doing this, Harry says to Carrie, Carrie, I can read your mind. I said, I know what you're thinking. And he said, I know what you're thinking too. And they're both being scientists. He goes and gets some index cards and a couple of pens, and they say, okay, one word. What word am I thinking of? And they both write down the word, and then they show it to each other, and it's the same word. And they do this over and over. And, so it provides anecdotal evidence that you can get into another person's mind and read their thoughts. But, then again, isn't anecdotal evidence kind of an oxymoron? Anecdotal implies hearsay, so it's not really evidence. So then you have to consider the credibility and authenticity of who's providing the account. And ultimately, that's a matter of opinion. But I think that Kary Mullis, throughout his career, was a credible and authentic person with an independent and unbiased viewpoint. And he unfortunately died in August of 2019. But his account, I think, was valid and accurate. At least he thought it was real. That, yeah, you can read another person's thoughts. Okay, and in the movie, and it's also the old wives' tale, if you die in a dream, you die in real life. Well, I can personally attest that if you die in a dream, you do not die in real life, because I did die in a dream once, and as far as I know, I survived it. W5EVB.
Oh, David, you leave yourself open on that one. You say that, but do you really know for sure? Because maybe you're sleeping now, and you just thought you died in a dream, that you didn't die in a dream, because it was a dream inside of a dream, wrapped in an enigma. Think about that for a minute or two. Not too long, you'll get a nosebleed. Next is Sean, KB5SOK. Sean, what did you think of characterization for the film Dreamscape from 1984? This is KE5ICX.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, and another way to look at it is maybe possibly you're just in the Matrix and you got rebooted after your death. Anyway, yeah, the characterizations, well, I think it's been pretty well said again. Not a lot of depth, really, just basic, but it was decent acting, I felt. These are all people that have definitely seen in other stuff. I felt that, Dennis Quaid did a decent job as the hero. Once again, wasn't super in-depth, but I think he did it pretty well. I do believe, I can't remember the creepy guy's name. I know you guys brought it up earlier. But I felt that, yeah, he definitely felt very creepy. Thought he played it very well. Just all in all, there's, like I said, there's not a lot of depth here, but it's just okay. Like I said, the whole thing felt a little bit like a TV movie. It wasn't bad on that respect. They had decent people. I just really can't think of anything really in depth about any of these characters. I'll just, I do agree with you, Tom, on the effects. I was kind of went to the third round, but the special effects weren't all that special. That part was a little rough. I was confused to why he was scared by that snake, especially since he knew it was a dream anyway. Anyway, that part was a little bit of a plot flaw. I do agree with that. I'll send it back to Net. This is KB9SOK.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, I'm at the bottom of the list. I'll see if there's any additional check-ins before I make my comments. Anyone else want to join us this evening? We are discussing the movie Dreamscape from 1984. You don't have to necessarily have seen the movie, but we are talking about dreams, the escapes that go with them, and 1984. So please come with your call sign name, and did you see this film? Oh man, we're going to cook it in really early tonight. I can feel it. Okay, characterization. Let's see. Alex, for one, he falls for this kid. What is it, Buddy? The dog. It's usually a dog's name. I think Buddy, the kid. it seemed odd to me that all of a sudden he takes a hankering to the kid and he wants to get in there and help him. While I can understand that under any other storyline, I just never felt that there was any real connection that really came about. I don't know. I felt that they could have done a better job bringing those two characters together. I do agree with Sean and David about it was David on this one, the characters, the smoothness. Christopher Plummer, of course, who's played Dracula and played that guy, Klingon with the eye patch bolted to his eye. That was pretty cool. Nice guy. I mean, he's very good at dinner and wonderful speaker and all that. So that worked. And he's dressed in that really nice suit. Stanley Dresser, like I mentioned earlier, he looks good. Looks like somebody that you would invite over for a little while. Just don't drink wine or put him in front of a mirror. Max von Sydow, his character was okay. We're used to seeing him as a heavy in most things. He was not. He did fine as Dr. Paul. I thought that was fine. But I think that his talents were kind of wasted on the film a little bit. The one thing that I thought was hilarious is that in order to show himself as a scientist and a professor, is he puts his glasses on, takes his glasses off. He holds his glasses in his left or right hand, depending on which side of his face the camera is pointing. So if it's on the left side of his face, he's got the glasses grasped with his left hand, and he's kind of like bouncing them on the table. Then the right side, whatever, and it's like one caricature repeated over and over and over again. He really didn't have much to do with the character. There was not a lot. His passion wasn't there. I mean, listen to Carl Sagan or go listen to, any scientist that's passionate about their work. They're absolutely infatuated with their work. Well, Paul didn't seem as infatuated. He needed Alex back for the testing, and he was being kind of annoying, really, in the end. He didn't romance him into it. There was no dialogue to say really cool things about what this means to mankind. Nothing, because we didn't care what mankind thought. We wanted to make that kid happy. So another thing too, that just didn't make any sense. Eddie Albert as the president. He never had a name. He's just the president. So President Albert, President Eddie, he, his chief Secret Service guy is right outside the door. And while he shows some concern, he doesn't show a lot of concern. You don't see, he has these dreams or nightmares, and he wakes up and he says, "Oh, I'm fine." Anybody, you want me to call a physician? You might be having a heart attack. Apparently that's going to be a big deal here later on in the movie, so maybe we should get the physician in here to at least look at you. No, I'm fine, no problems. Don't know. And then he keeps looking at him helplessly. I mean, this guy is taking care of the leader of the free world, and he just doesn't know what to do in the east wing of the White House when the president looks like he's taking a sweat bath. That didn't make any sense to me either as a character. Again, that character probably could have played a little bit more into it. Your Droogies that were in here, the two guys were, I can't think what were their names. The Smeed character, was it Smeed? Sneed. Boy, talk about stereotype. He looked like he was out of, one of the chimney sweeps from Mary Poppins or something. It was just like, oh, jeez, that's so over the top. And his little partner, too. Maybe if they did a song and dance routine, it would have been better. I don't know. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, that was just kind of just difficult to watch. Let's put it that way. And I'm still not sure what it was all about. I guess our character, Norm, I'll call him Norm. I can't think of his real name. Maybe he has an evil twin brother. I don't know. but the one with the book, and he pulls out and he shows, here, I wrote this book. And he's sort of like the shoeshine boy who gives him the extra information, you know, where the cop goes up, he sits down, gets his shoeshine, and the shoeshine boy, he says, what's the street, what's the word on the street, Bill? Bill says, well, I understand there could be something going on down on Fifth Avenue. Looks like there could be some sort of action. I couldn't tell you much about it. Says, and then he hands him another 20. He says, from what I hear, they're running the numbers game on Tuesdays at 2 o'clock and again at 4 o'clock on Thursdays. And that expedites everything. So you can get through an episode of Kojak or something. But in this case, they're trying to expedite where there's no need for an expedite. Do you know who this man is? He's very powerful and works in the government. Well, yeah, he's Christopher Plummer. Of course he's very powerful. You're not going to pay a big actor to play some stupid role. Oh, wait, that was Max von Sydow, now that I think about it. So why is he there? I don't understand. I like the little place that they go to with the really bad T-shirts. They're just block letters. I'm going to go and buy one of those T-shirts. On-campus bars, that one was the lamest one I'd ever seen. And everybody's old. Did you notice that? Not that I'm old. I'm forever young, like the song. But they're all old people in there, and they're having fun in a very old way. And nobody notices that. You know, everybody should be young and having fun and having parties and doing great things and drinking, having, you know, boondoggle. I don't know. None of that was going on. It was a very boring bar with very boring T-shirts that you could buy. So, oh well. So I don't know. I just felt, I guess overall, I felt that the performances, with the exception of maybe Plummer and Quaid. I will mention this about Quaid. One thing about him is I kept thinking, who does this remind me of? Who does this person remind me of? And it reminds me of, oh hell, what's his name? Han Solo. That's who it reminds me of. His mannerisms and sound and delivery and everything is basically the same thing. It's the same delivery you would expect. So I thought that was kind of interesting. It finally occurred to me. And then when you look at the poster for the thing, it's obvious that they're trying to do a riff on with the torch and everything that made no sense. Well, they did have the torch for about 12 seconds. Let me reset. So it looked like a Harrison Ford Indiana Jones film in the way it was laid out, or maybe an Ansel poster. But at any rate, that's what it looked like they were trying to do, to save it and say it was an adventure story. No, it's a horror story. No, it's science fiction. It's none of the above. It's just a movie. So that's where I was with it. I don't know. I wouldn't mind reading Roger Zelazny's book, The Dream Master. I'll bet you it's way better than this movie was, with way better writing and way better dialogue. I just suspect that. I don't know. So I went in way too long, but I just kind of felt that the characters were rather flat and stereotypical, with the exception of Quaid and Plummer. I thought that they really did show. And I didn't know Kate Capshaw. If she was singing in Mandarin, I should have probably recognized her immediately. Which, by the way, that's a great sequence in that movie. I love it. Okay, normally I just say let's go ahead and talk about special effects and music and all of that, which we still can do, but I'm just going to open it up with anybody has any comments that they would like to bring about the film. I'll let you go ahead and put your call sign out, and if you're late check in, that's fine too. So just come with your call sign if you've got additional comments.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zoo, Whiskey.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima.
Okay, that's not too bad. I'll make another round after you three in case there's anybody with any additional comments. So, Jay, KG5BZW, your comments.
I'll go ahead and, oh, well, a minute, hold on. Now I had to turn off the echo link so I wouldn't hear myself. Yeah, not really much to say. I will grant the poster for the movie. I looked at that, I was like, that don't look like a snake. That looks like a snake mat. What were you shown? A snake mat. So at least that was, accurate. Yeah. Anyway, besides that, I mean, reading people's minds. That's honestly, it's. We've got these things that in gambling, they're called tells. You got things you do that we've got the activity of reading these things is a cold reading. It's just that people are predictable, and especially if you're working with somebody, you kind of know one's mannerisms, what might come with working with them, and just there's all kinds of tells. And I mean, the notion of a tell is so ubiquitous that it doesn't even have to be a living human thing. There's certain security cracks on Intel computers where I believe it was delays in the access of memory that ended up. There's something about how you could read how what was in a certain portion of memory due to the fact that a certain I can't remember what access was involved. This was like about I want to say 10 or so years ago. Maybe not a little bit less than that, but it's just this is stuff that's supposed to be hidden in memory, like a password, or not necessarily a password, or something like that. But still, the way you could query it in such a way that statistically you could figure out what was going on in that hidden memory piece. So it's just something that happens. If there's anything statistically different about certain activities, well, you got a statistical model which you can use to determine, he's in that state, or whatever, the computer's in this state. And so I don't know, we're on this topic of reading here. I guess that is the two things. I think there's something else I wanted to say, but I can't remember it. So, next person, KG5BW, back to that.
All right, thank you, Jay. And next up is Tony. Tony has something to say. NT5TM, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Tom. I wanted to take advantage of your very expansive and generous invitation earlier to mention a completely different and totally unrelated movie that I just watched. This was my Friday night kind of personal celebration movie. It's called The Farthest. It's a rather poetic documentary about the Voyager program, and it's slightly out of date because both Voyagers have now crossed into interstellar space. And when it came out in 2017, only one had. But you can see it for free, pbs.org/the-farthest, pbs.org/the-farthest. So if you're looking for something that is very realistic and full of real-life characters who actually have done things in real life, The Farthest is a very poetic movie, and I was just thinking about it because, no Afterglow Net is complete unless I suggest, a book or something else that we could have seen, but that was already done for me, talking about Mr. Zelazny. So instead, I just wanted to mention The Farthest as a really neat documentary. NT5 TIA.
Well, thank you, Tony, and I did write that down. I will be checking into that. By the way, interesting, we talked about Pioneer earlier tonight as well. Miss Kelly had a thing on it. And I found, I've been redecorating the house and looking for poster material. And so I went through some of my rolled up posters, of which there's a lot of fascinating stuff in there. Since I'm old, at 63, I've got stuff going back to the 60s. I was shocked at some of the things I found. But one of them was, as a kid, I received from TRW company. It had a Pioneer 10 poster suitable for framing of the future mission when it would launch in 1972-73 time frame. No numbers. It hadn't been determined yet. No A's or B's at that point. It was just simply Pioneer. And it's a nice drawing. It's a nice, I guess you would call it pen and ink type drawing, and it is nice. It's a little messed up though, because the kid had it. That would be me, had it. So I don't think I can actually frame it and use it, but it's kind of cool that I have something going back that well. I got stuff going back further than that. I've got mission reports from the Apollo programs when they came out. At any rate, I just thought I'd mention it. Miss Brenda, WB5OZL, you have comments. Go right ahead.
This is WB5OZL. I kind of got nostalgic about this movie because there was an era of pseudo-scientific research into ESP and such. In the 70s, mostly, there was a book called The Secret Life of Plants, where people actually tried to communicate with plants or figure out what kind of music they liked, and were trying to get into their little brains, and likewise, as an extension of the Cold War, the United States and the Russians were feverishly doing experiments to try and develop ESP, mind linking, and such. A lot of this was done by the military, and the idea was use it as a military weapon, essentially. The Russians were particularly keen on this, of how they could gain an advantage by being able to read minds, and we did too. If you remember the Ghostbusters scene where he's trying to guess the content of the cards, this was reflected in a lot of movies of the day because it was real life. This was going on. Either it died out because there was nothing to it, or it's still going on and it's all secret now. They're not telling us. I don't know which. I suspect the former. As far as I know, there was never any... well, you couldn't replicate the experiments. You would find one person who had some kind of abilities, but other people couldn't learn it. And anyway, it's a really interesting part of our history, and I kind of miss it because it was kind of fun. But this movie brought back those, to me, that old, impressions that I had of the times. Back to that, WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Yeah, one of the things you can always expect from, especially from movies too, is that they follow, once you've had a success of some sort, then it's followed by a lot of imitations. Now, sometimes they're good. Sometimes they actually exceed the original content of material that it inspired, but most of the time it's a lot of the same. And yeah, a lot of the 80s had that vibe to it, had that kind of look as well, and they were relatively low and inexpensive films to make. Let's face it, they were looking to make a buck, and this is before you could do a lot with digital effects. There were none. So today you can do all the digital effects, and you can do them relatively inexpensively. I say relatively. So I don't know. Today it's all superhero movies and meta universes and all that. And I don't know. I guess I'm old. I'm just not into that. There's a few of those that I enjoy. What was it? WandaVision was kind of good. I enjoyed that as a series, and there's something else. Loki was fun, but that's about as far as I get. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I watched a few episodes and got bored fairly quickly, but they're fine. They're fine. They follow a certain path and methodology, I suppose, and that's what probably the 2020 is going to be known for, the 2020s or the 2010s or however we describe this past decade. The superhero movies. And I'm seeing an ad on TV, Spider-Man, surprise. So yeah, that's what it'll be known for, and I'm sure there's a bunch of people that feel very fondly about those type of films. I'm not one of them. Oh well. All right, I was going to offer one more opportunity. Anybody got any final closing comments who didn't get on the first round, or if you got a second comment? We've got plenty of time. Well, we're almost 10 minutes to midnight. Any final comments? Let's put it that way. Please come now with your call.
November 5 Sierra, Quebec Alpha.
W5 EBB.
Very good. Okay, Ron, N5SQA. Tonight's movie is called Dreamscape from 1984. I don't know if you know that, but what do you have for us this evening?
Well, Tom, I didn't know that. I don't recall seeing that movie. The last movie I actually watched was one called Tick, Tick, Boom on Netflix. I really enjoyed that. But I just checked in primarily because you're running the net. My comment is simply, go blue, N5SQA.
I knew you had a reason. Yes, they won their, divisional playoff thing. They're number one, so maybe they'll be in the final thing. I don't understand how they do all that stuff now, but they did win the Big Ten today. I caught a little bit of it while doing Skynet. Excellent. And I'll check out Tick, Tick, Boom. We have similar tastes in movies. W5EBB, David, your final comments. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't make the previous round because I had to check the end credits for something, but I didn't think the special effects were that bad. They seemed kind of appropriate to kind of convey the look of dreams because they didn't look very real. They were somewhat abstract, and they would switch quickly from one scene to another, from one set to another, just like you might encounter in a dream, with no real rhyme or reason to it. And you often see Dennis Quaid just looking kind of giddy, that, hey, I'm inside of a dream, isn't this cool? And, sometimes if you're able to, kind of have the lucid dreaming skill, you can sometimes realize for at least a short amount of time that you're in a dream and just sort of look around. Now, some of the additional savings to meet their $6 million budget, certainly special effects sort of took a hit, and I noticed in the end credits that the nuclear detonation footage was courtesy of the Defense Nuclear Agency, so they didn't have to make their own special effect for that. So Maurice Jarre, I think that's the French way to say it if they've got a chest cold. He wrote mainly orchestras, but he started to use synthesizer music in the 80s, as many composers, well, I wouldn't call them composers, music writers did. I would imagine it should have saved money, but according to Wikipedia, Jarre said that his electronic score for Witness was actually more laborious, time-consuming, and expensive to produce than an orchestral score. But this was sort of a changing of the guard in the type of music that was being put into movies, and this was kind of he was probably on the leading edge, but it certainly didn't sound like it. It sounded like he was using a Casio. W5EBB.
All right, thank you, David. And I'm familiar with the score to Witness. In fact, it's a favorite of mine. And I have the original recording in its electronic form, and it's been reproduced. You'll find it on many, mixed soundtrack recordings through the years with a full orchestra. So it's fully articulated as a score, even though it's electronic. So for him, it probably was labor-intensive, whereas this score was fairly simplistic in its whole approach, not very dense when it came to the actual music, and in fact I found it in spots rather annoying. So like the rest of it, I didn't think it was as inspired maybe as it could have been. It's an experiment. It's still a fun film, and one of the reasons we watch these things is that we can compare and contrast, and where did it work, where didn't it work, and since we're all geniuses when it comes to making movies, this is our only creative outlet. We can discuss and bolster our own opinions and those of others in how to properly make a movie, which is what we do all the time, right? One of the things that you mentioned on the special effects, though, when I have a dream sequence, there are two that I remember. One that got me out of a sound sleep, and that was I was on the steps of a building. I don't remember what it was. It looked like the Supreme Court or the Capitol or something like that. And an alligator was chasing me, a very large alligator. And I was stopping it, and it was holding its mouth shut while from behind. In other words, my hands were holding its muzzle shut. And I moved, and I woke, and it started biting me at that point. I woke up, and I screamed, and I was wide awake. That's why I remember the dream. And believe me, my alligator looked very real. It was a large alligator, and the steps looked real. Marble, in fact. So don't tell me that it's not articulated. I think it should be. At least my dreams are articulated. I don't have cheap dreams. If I'm going to have a dream, I'm going to have an expensive dream. And the other one was getting out of Poland in World War II. That was a boring one. I did get out of Poland twice because it happened in the second one. Why Poland? I don't know. Why World War II? I don't know. I just remember that. Okay, I think they're going to call it quits. Next week's movie is actually a favorite of mine. I haven't seen it in 20 years, so it may turn out to be not as a favorite as it was 20 years ago. It's called The Quiet Earth from 1985. It's a rather unusual film. If you've seen The Omega Man, it kind of has a riff with that, but it has a completely different ending and approach. But a Last Man on Earth type story called Quiet Earth from 1985. I'll get the information out. Anybody listening who would like to participate and want to know about movies in advance, send me an email, KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray at yahoo.com. Let me know. Or you can go to Afterglow Movie. There's 2 words, Afterglow and Movie, on the Facebook platform, or Meta, I guess it's called now. Just sign up there, and there's actually a file that tells you what the movies will be 2 weeks going forward. So that's it for me. And then after that, are you ready for this? For December 18th will be Elvis from Outer Space. Yes, there's a movie called that. But first, The Quiet Earth from 1985 for next week. See y'all later. Have a good evening. This is KE5ICX, and I'm clear.